Former child TV star, soft porn, and B-movie actress Alyssa Milano is promoting having 2 abortions. Alyssa Milano, who grew up in front of millions of TV viewers, is Sam, the precocious little kid on Who's the Boss, and she even played at one time the daughter of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando, has grown up to be a very angry woman. And I say that sincerely. She's a political activist, and she is not simply a pro-abortionist. She is a pro-abortion apologist. In other words, she's not simply a defender of the cause. She is an absolute advocate for abortion whenever, wherever, for whatever. Now, what exactly is it that drives her to be this way? Well, this week she took to the airwaves of her podcast, Sorry Not Sorry, to share with us that she's not simply had 1 abortion in her life, she's had 2. Yes, 2.
The same people who shout about the alleged virtues of small government in America are making government so big that it fills our wombs, when it is becoming more and more dangerous to be a woman in America.
Dangerous to be a woman in America? That is such a crock. That is an absolute crock, which has caused executives at places like Gillette to become woke and make TV commercials that don't tout their product and why men ought to be using Gillette razors. No, nay. We've got to have lectures on don't be a toxic male. Don't be the kind of male that ever makes anyone feel uncomfortable for any reason. She is part of this movement which is about the emasculating men, completely just emasculating them, and for her, it's dangerous because, what? There are some states like Ohio which have enacted laws called the fetal heartbeat law, which basically means once the heartbeat of a child can be detected, that child cannot be aborted. But let's take away the clean, sanitized language, shall we? That child cannot be murdered. But I'll tell you what is dangerous. Apparently, it's dangerous to be a baby in the womb of Alyssa Milano.
In 1993, I had 2 abortions.
Why on earth would you brag and make that some type of rite of passage into womanhood that you had not 1, but 2 abortions in the same year? And yet you say the country is dangerous for women. Why? Because someone might actually tell you, Alyssa, that's not good for you. Not only is that not good for you physically, it's not good for you psychologically, it's not good for you emotionally. In fact, I'm not speaking out of school here. You've gone on TV to talk openly about your own emotional problems. You even talked about in this podcast that you have anxiety issues. We might call those manic issues. And whether or not that makes you a good parent or not a good parent is not the point I'm trying to make here. But it does mean when you say that it's dangerous to be a woman in America. Really? Are we selling women into open slavery? Are we legalizing the torture and the degrading of women? Are we not allowing women to excel and reach for their goals and their dreams and their aspirations and to do the things that they want to do? In fact, I would say that this country, when it comes to a record of how women are treated, you're not going to like this, and I am sure this will get a reaction or 2 on my channel today. But it's dangerous to be a white male in America today, because apparently everything on the planet, from global warming to human rights atrocities, are somehow the fault of white Anglo-Saxon males. It's all our fault. But to sit there and talk about having 2 abortions, why?
So I knew at that time I was not equipped to be a mother. And so I chose to have an abortion. I chose. It was my choice. And it was absolutely the right choice for me. It was not an easy choice. It was not something I wanted, but it was something that I needed. Like most healthcare is.
Alyssa, here's a little piece of advice I wish somebody had shared with you before you got pregnant. Make the choice about having a child or not having a child before you engage in the activity that produces a child. You know, it's an amazing statistic, but abstinence works 100% of the time. Every time it's tried, it works. Now, you said that you were not equipped at that time. You were not ready to be a parent. Okay, you know what? I congratulate you on understanding that being a parent is not just being able to go through the biological act of producing and bearing a child, but the responsibility, the love, and the nurturing involved in the raising and training of that child. So I give you a kudos there. What about adoption? What about adoption? Why not put them up for adoption? Oh, but that's right. You said it was a healthcare choice. Really? Seriously? This was a healthcare choice because you weren't mentally ready to be a parent. That made it a healthcare choice. Do you understand how those that argue for abortion always try to go to this moral equivalence argument? And I've told you before, and I'm going to say it again. When Andrew Cuomo signed into law in the state of New York that an abortion could be performed right up to the child being in the birth canal on its way to delivery. And you have the governor of Virginia stating that once the child has been born, if the mother decides there's a birth defect or was really hoping for a boy, instead got a girl, or there's something about the physical appearance of the child that just isn't right, that the child should be made to feel comfortable while the mother and doctor have a conversation as to decide whether or not what the child gets to live. Because if this ugly, deformed child lives, that takes a toll on the mother's mental well-being. See, every excuse under the sun to kill a child is going to be covered as a healthcare choice.
I was on the pill, taking birth control because I knew I was not ready to be a parent. I had finished working on Who's the Boss, and I was starting to work on films and other projects, and my career and my life were in front of me, and I was living them as fully as I could. And I still got pregnant. It was devastating. I was raised Catholic and was suddenly put in conflict with my faith.
Well, I could go ahead and invoke theology, Christian teaching on things like premarital and extramarital activity. I'm not going to do that. People are people, and people do things that later they regret or come to a greater understanding that I wasn't ready for that. So I'm not going to pass any judgment there. The Word of God already has plenty to say on that issue. It's up to individuals to decide whether or not they're going to heed what Scripture has to say in that area. But if you were in this conflict because of your faith, and now you're going to have a baby, okay, well, your faith in Catholicism has a lot to say about premarital sex and why not do it. So you were already in violation of your faith there. Now you got a child, so the way you right these two problems is to end the life of the child. Again, What about abstinence? What about adoption?
I refuse to allow anyone else's bullshit morality to force me into a life of premarital celibacy.
Ah, there you have it. The real issue, the real reason she doesn't want anyone telling her no, no, no. She doesn't want to be told that she's got to be in a monogamous marital relationship. She likes sex. She wants sex. She's going to enjoy sex because men enjoy sex. So then don't make your argument about health care and it's dangerous to be a woman and I wasn't ready to be a mother. Why don't you just say it? You want to engage freely and without shame or guilt or judgment or responsibility in the activity that produces a child. At least that would be an honest answer, Alyssa.
I refuse to live in the narrative that sexual pleasure is for men and that women exist to deliver that pleasure. My body gives me pleasure. Sexually connecting with my partner gave me pleasure. Nobody will try and say that he was at fault for enjoying sex with me, but you could be damn sure that the men enacting these laws think less of me for deriving the same pleasure from him.
Okay, again, she wants this idea of being able to have sex without responsibility. And she says, because you can be sure men do, you know, there was a time when men were held responsible for actions like this. Men were told, you're going to do the right thing. You're going to marry this woman. You are going to raise this child properly. But along came the women's lib movement. Along came this idea that, hey, you don't need a man to raise a child. You can do it. You can have a career. You can be a mom. You can be Superwoman. And look what that message has done to minority communities in our country, in particular the black community in our country, where we got TV shows where guys are bragging about they got 5, 6, 8 baby mamas out there. Really? Really? Oh, see, but that's what happens when you pull out, what did you call it, Alyssa? The moral BS? See, there's no more moral compass on any of this. It's do what you want. And that's what you're saying, Alyssa. Do what you want. Oh, and by the way, if the woman decides she's going to have the child, men are still held responsible, even if she doesn't want to spend the rest of her life with that guy and marry him. There's this thing called child support. Oftentimes, though, men are not part of the decision process at all. The woman gets to make the sole right as to whether or not that child lives or not. And of course, the argument immediately comes back from the left. It's her body. But you just heard Alyssa say, hey, look, nobody's going to begrudge a man from enjoying having sex with me, which I found kind of be an egotistical thing there, Alyssa. But all right, we'll go with that. We'll use your reasoning and your logic. So if you don't want to hold men, hey, look, we're both grown adults. We agreed to engage in this activity. Alyssa, I applaud you right there for incredible honesty. I mean, how many guys have been raked over the coals over after the event took place, and 24 hours goes by, and the female decides she has regret about having been with him, and so he gets accused of date rape. And I'm not saying that date rape doesn't happen. But how many big national headlines have we seen about cases of date rape where it turned out later, no, it really was consensual. She just had buyer's regret the next day. So Alyssa, I applaud you on saying, hey, look, I'm a grown adult, he's a grown adult. We decided to engage in this activity and we both enjoyed it. So Alyssa, let's take that argument now to the next step. If you both engage in the activity to put the baby where the baby ends up in the womb, why doesn't he also get a say into whether or not it gets to come into this world. I'm just asking because you just set the ground rules, Alyssa.
They tell you the pill is 99% effective at preventing pregnancies, and yet a few months later, I found out I was pregnant again. So I had done what I knew to do to prevent pregnancy and was still pregnant. So once again, I made the right decision to end that pregnancy.
You did everything? You did everything to prevent the result of pregnancy. I have shared in a different video, on April the 24th of this year, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Immediately, the doctor began to lay out what my life was going to look like, the different medications, plural, that I was going to have to be on. They were going to start me out on one medication, and then progressively they would have to increase it to 2 or 3 different medications. Then within 5 to 10 years, I would probably be on insulin. And I went home and I researched and researched and researched, and I read, and within a week I took myself off of the one medication that I was on. And I have decided to treat my diabetes strictly through diet and exercise. I have lost 72 pounds since December, and since going on this all natural, I have watched my blood sugar go from 300 to in the 80s. My A1C is down to 6 after having been nearly 11. And I said all that to say this. The problem with diabetic medication, in particular for type 2 diabetes, and I've watched this, where people get a diagnosis like type 2 diabetes, they start swallowing the pill, and then they keep engaging in the activity that gave them the diabetes to begin with, which was poor diet. Diabetes is the result of a dietary condition. Therefore, not drugs, but a diet is what's needed to correct the result. So when she says she did everything she could to not be pregnant. No, not everything, Alyssa. You swallowed a pill. Maybe your partner put on a prophylactic. I doubt it, because you had the pill, right? You had the pill. And you ended up pregnant. You know how many people, diabetics, take the medication and their diabetes gets worse? You know why? Because they continue to engage in the activity. They just assume if they swallow the pill, that's it. I don't have any responsibility. I don't have to do a thing. You know, human beings are the only species on the planet that eat something that's bad for them, then they go into a lab and they come up with a pill or a bicarbonate product like Tums or Rolaids so they can swallow the pill so they can keep eating the thing that actually makes them sick. You know, animals, if they eat something that makes them sick, you know what they never do again? They never eat that again. They're smart enough to know that makes me sick. That's not good for me. I don't like how I feel after I eat that. Human beings, not us. We're going to eat that triple-decker cheeseburger and have a pizza and have this and that on top of it. And if I get diabetes, bless God, they got pills for that. If I got wicked heartburn, bless God, we got pills for that. If I'm nauseous, bless God, that's what Pepto-Bismol's for. And if I get pregnant, bless God, we got pills for that. How about, really simple, don't engage in the activity that produces the child. And when you say abstinence is not an option, I am free to enjoy my body and to enjoy sex, then why did you tell the women of Georgia, actually the women of America, to stop engaging in sex, to practice abstinence, because Georgia enacted a fetal heartbeat law?
But actress and activist Alyssa Milano is taking it to the bedroom, tweeting, "Our reproductive rights are being erased until women have legal control over our bodies. We cannot risk pregnancy. Join me by not having sex until we get bodily autonomy back."
There's a man
calling
in here that
for
looks not
a
thrilled.
sex strike. Is it a good way to go?
Well, if you can't, influence legislation, you have no recourse. What can you do? So you withhold. I mean, the people are saying that it punishes the woman because we love to have sex just as much. No, we don't.
Oh, so we can engage in abstinence to make a political statement, but we can't engage in abstinence to not bring an unwanted child into the world because by your own admission, you weren't ready to be a parent yet. But if you're making a political statement, well, then by all means, be abstinent. Oh, and by the way, Alyssa, you and Joyless Not a Babe Heart need to get together on this whole narrative about women enjoying or not enjoying sex, because you pretty much said you like sex. You enjoy it. You want the person you're with to enjoy it. Okay, great. Apparently, though, Joyless Not a Babe Heart doesn't enjoy sex and doesn't think most women do either. You two need to get together on that narrative. Otherwise, you got a real glitch in your presentation here, Alyssa. I'm just trying to be helpful. That's what I do. I help. I'm a pastor. I help.
The assault against women's bodies over the last few years has forced me to reflect on what I would have lost if I never had my abortions.
Wow. So now we're going to introduce the moral relativism of, hey, committing murder has allowed me to gain. Committing murder has allowed me to live a better life. That is exactly what she just said. It's exactly what she said.
I would not have my children, my beautiful, perfect, loving, kind, and inquisitive children. I would not have my career. I would not have the ability or platform I use to fight against oppression with all my heart. My life would be completely lacking all its great joys. I would never have been free to be myself.
I'm free to be me. I'm free to be me. Great, great. Because you already said the career was more important than the children. You've already said that having your political platform, the recognition that you get from doing what you do, that was more important to you than allowing a life to come into the world. Okay. Well, Alyssa, let me take your logic and your reasoning, because you're apparently now you can see into the future. You know what your life would have been if you had these two miserable brats. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't quite say it like that. If you had these two children, you wouldn't have the awesome husband, the incredible lifestyle, all the accolades. You wouldn't have had any of that if these two kids had come into the world and been part of your life. Well, let's flip the script. You might have ended up with the husband you have now. You might not have. I don't know. You still might have had the two kids that you've got right now. And by the way, thank you for choosing to allow them to live. Thank you. But let's flip this script here a little bit, Alyssa. What have you lost? You lost two kids. As a mother, as a human being, do you feel nothing? You lost two futures, two destinies. You have no idea what your life would be like today had they been allowed to live. Maybe, because you're imagining a horrible scenario, what if it would have been a great scenario? What if your life with them would have been 10 times, 100 times better than what you've got right now? See, we can what if all day, Alyssa. I remember when I found out my wife was expecting and we wanted to have children, but as excited as I was that she was going to have our first child, immediately the doubt and the fear gripped me. Am I ready to be a dad? Would I be a good dad? Will I even know what to do? And I wanted kids. My wife wanted children. So this idea that I wasn't ready, I wasn't prepared, a lot of people aren't, Alyssa. They aren't. And are there scenarios where children have been brought up in horrible situations? Absolutely. But Alyssa, to say that your life would be trash today had they lived, that is an awful thing for you to say and to feel. How do you know that you weren't giving birth to the doctor/scientist that would have had the cure for cancer? How do you know? How do you know? And Alyssa, all sarcasm, all political differences aside, let me talk to you one-on-one, pastor to person, person to person. Alyssa, I've had a lot of experience in counseling and even dealing with issues within my own family. I have a wife. I have 2 young adult daughters. Do you ever think that maybe the anxiety problems you're having, the emotional breakdowns that you've had, ever think that maybe that has to do with the guilt of having made the decision to take away 2 lives, 2 futures, 2 potentials? And you can mask it with therapy and medication. But I'm going to tell you this very seriously, and I've been doing this a long time. There is coming a day when there isn't going to be medication or enough support groups to drown out that guilt until that guilt is actually effectively dealt with, and not at some counselor trying to convince you that what you did was simply end a blob of tissue. No. The reason there are states enacting fetal heartbeat laws is not because we're trying to create a dangerous environment for women. We're trying to create a safe place for human beings. That beating heart is a life. That life is precious. You need to look at it that way, Alyssa. Rather than out there on a protest line bragging you've had 2 abortions and you're proud of it. Because at some point, though, and I'm sure you have great kids, and I don't like to drag other people's kids into things, but you opened this by talking about it openly on your podcast. At some point, one, if not both of your children, they're going to want to know why. And even though they may listen to your answer and not even give you an argument, I'm telling you, this is 30 years in ministry and counseling talking. I'm telling you, they're going to walk away and they're going to feel differently about you. Even if they may not show it or you don't detect it, they're going to feel differently about you. And it will always, always, for the rest of their lives, be in the back of their mind. What about me? What if she had done that to me? It'll always be in the back of their minds. I have a brother, a sister I never met. I never knew. You need to think about that. This is way more serious than just winning some political argument because you've got a platform and you've got something you're advocating and you want to do it because it's your choice. That's good, Alyssa. Because that baby didn't get a choice. And you said that conservative male lawmakers enacting laws to protect these fetuses that no other human being has. Are you kidding me? The right to life. the right to be born after having been conceived. See, the child gets no vote in anything. They didn't get a vote on being created to begin with. And in your world, they don't get a vote on if they get an opportunity to be born and to show us what they could become. Who knows, Alyssa? Who knows? One of those 2 children you aborted, maybe both of them, could have been awesome people that you would have been so proud of. But now, you'll never know. And that's tragedy. Thank you so much for watching. A different type of rant today, and I realize that. And I know that many of you will have different reactions to what was said. But please, aside from your support for this channel, think about what was said here today.